Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we'll be doing a box office forecasting for this weekend as we have some potential numbers for No Time to Die and also for weekend number 2 for Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage. Before diving into these numbers, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So No Time to Die, the moment is finally upon us. Many people have been able to see it. I have not, as I am a full-time teacher and also have, of course, family obligations once I get home. So I will finally be able to see this film next week when I'm off for fall break, which will be very nice to be able just to have time to watch movies in a theater again. But No Time to Die is expected to make around $84 million domestically this weekend, opening up at over 4,400 screens. What is something interesting to note, though, is how they have put this thing called tentative next to it, and I have never seen this before on boxofficepro.com, and so part of me wonders if this is because of how wrong their predictions or the industry predictions for Venom 2 were last weekend, that they now have to put tentative to wait for those Thursday numbers to come in for them to finally be able to get some actual estimates in. So we don't have the official Thursday numbers yet as of the time of recording this video for No Time to Die, but based on everything we've seen in its initial release in other foreign markets, what it's likely going to make here, and also what it's likely going to make in other markets this weekend, they expect it to make another over $100+ million this weekend. The film will probably be around $250 to $300 million in total after 2 weeks of staggered release, which would put this film on pace to maybe somehow be able to pull out a way of breaking even. However, we are still a long ways away from that happening because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, this film needs to make roughly around $750 million worldwide in order for it to break even, and that's assuming the budget, which is reported to be $300 million, which likely is more than that because of delays, reshoots, etc., and the typical marketing budget, which is also likely going to be higher because of the delays and reshoots, etc. $450 million is what the total cost altogether is expected to have been, with budget and additional marketing costs on top of it. So the more conservative break-even number is $750 million because everything else is speculation. There really is no way to determine what another break-even number would be. So I'm saying probably between $750 and $850 million is likely the break-even territory for this film. So we'll have to wait and see if it's able to reach that. But starting off at $84 million for the domestic marketplace, definitely not the highest, definitely would be coming in underneath Venom's release, which would be an interesting comparison to say the very least. Venom 2's release, it would also be a little bit above what Shang-Chi did in its 3-day opening, and also would be roughly around the same, maybe a little bit more than what Black Widow did earlier in the year. So it's definitely a very interesting scenario going on for No Time to Die, though the point I made about No Time to Die in comparison to films like Shang-Chi is where Shang-Chi was able to do really well, especially in the domestic market. Again, expected to have over $211.9 million by the end of this weekend. No Time to Die likely will be a much larger foreign release than it will be a domestic release, but of course we'll follow those numbers. The other interesting story, though, is something that I've been tracking all week, and that is that Venom 2 does not seem to have the legs that it's likely going to need in order for it to be a huge financial success. Now, I say that with the fact, knowing that it still needs to open in a crap ton of markets. It's opening in a ton of markets this weekend and next weekend, respectfully. So there is still a lot of money to be made for Venom 2. But as far as the domestic numbers are concerned, this film is expected to have a massive 72% drop-off from last weekend. So remember, last weekend it made $90 million, expected to only make $25 million this weekend. Now, though, of course, we know these projections can be off. They were totally wrong for the original estimates of Venom 2 last weekend. However, normally the weekend 2 numbers are a bit more accurate, and a lot of the reason why it's expected to have such a massive drop-off is because if you actually look at the day and date comparisons to other films that have come out either this year, like Shang-Chi, or the original Venom film, you see that this film is underperforming compared to those movies, right? So if you look to that first Tuesday, right, the first Venom made another $2 million more than it did, and as I've pointed out, saying the weekday releases or the weekday numbers for Venom 2 haven't really been all that impressive. And by the end of this weekend, if this drop especially holds, we're probably going to find ourselves in a situation where both the original Venom and also even maybe Shang-Chi will pull ahead in the domestic market, because if we look at what they expect this film to have by the end of this weekend, it will be around $134 million, meaning that this film will be officially $10 million or so behind the likes of Shang-Chi and also the original Venom film. Again, slowing down tremendously, and I think that would indicate that Venom 2 will definitely not reach anywhere close to the heights of the original film, even though it did make $10 million more than the original. Again, it's kind of this weird scenario where it did really well initially, and then it really seems like some mixed word-of-mouth campaign has impacted the long-term impact. Also, this is really one of the first weekends where we're going to have some actual competition, right? So last weekend, Shang-Chi was already in its, fifth week of release or so when Venom 2 came out, so really not a lot of competition there. But this weekend, we got Venom 2's second weekend numbers and No Time to Die coming out for the first time. So there's actual competition going on this weekend, and then as the weekends go on, we'll continue to see this competition continue, especially on October 22nd when films like Dune come out. And that will be another interesting scenario because Dune's going to be on HBO Max at the same time. And we know that HBO Max has really started to dive into the theatrical numbers of all of its films. So what we see by this is that No Time to Die expected to make a lot of money. Not just, of course, domestically, which it's not that impressive when you compare it to some other films. Again, $84 million, not too great there. But again, it is a tentative number, so they could probably bump it up, and they probably will if I had to guess. But Venom 2's drop-off is pretty massive, and there are other numbers here. Still, Shang-Chi, 41% drop in its, 6th week or so of release. Still well over $200 million at this point. Again, as I said, and have continued to say, and will continue to say, Shang-Chi, again, in the realm of profitability, and so every week it is out, it makes more money for it. Venom Let There Be Carnage is lucky in that it did not cost nearly as much as films like Shang-Chi or No Time to Die did. And so even though domestically it might fall off a cliff pretty quickly to the point where it may not get close to $200 million, which many people may have thought after last weekend, what we can likely point out is it is still needing to release in major foreign countries, and that likely will be able to make up for what it needs to break even, which really isn't a whole lot in comparison to a lot of others. It only needs to make around $247.5 million worldwide in order for it to break even, and I would not be surprised if it's able to reach that number over the next couple of weeks, because again, this is going to be the domestic number. That foreign total is going to be a lot higher because it's coming out in more markets this weekend, and also will be coming out into even more markets in the weekends to follow. No Time to Die, though, as I've mentioned previously, is expected to make a fair amount of money, having already made $121 million overseas, expected to make another $100+ million this weekend, which is why I expect it to be around $250 to $300 million in total by the end of this weekend once all of those numbers actually update. But I wanted to give a quick update on that. No Time to Die coming out this weekend. Expected to have a decent release, and of course we'll have to follow these numbers. Could it be a $100+ million opening for the domestic marketplace? It could. Theoretically, it absolutely could. There have been people tracking the pre-sales on this, and you know that pre-sales don't really mean a whole lot because Solo: Star Wars Story also had really good tracking pre-sales and ended up having a terrible opening weekend and being a huge flop. No Time to Die obviously has to make a crap ton of money, which is why it has a lot more against it. Similar to Solo, where Solo also had a massive budget to make up for as well. No Time to Die, though, even higher of a budget and even more so to make up. So we'll have to, of course, follow these numbers as they come out. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that Venom Let There Be Carnage is going to have this massive drop-off that they are expecting it to have based on just the week, the day-and-day numbers on this thing? This actually does make sense to me because, as I said, having that first Monday dropping to $5 million compared to the first Venom film, it's $9 million. Having that Tuesday be 6 to the original's 8, 4 to, again, that was a little bit closer there at the very least. But I really am expecting that because of the competition, especially from films like No Time to Die, that this movie is going to have a lot of trouble in the domestic market as it's coming out. And even though it is set to come out in a lot of other foreign markets, it's also going to have to be competing with films like No Time to Die as well. So could it be a film that people decide, hey, I'd rather go see No Time to Die than to be able to go see Venom 2? Again, we'll have to wait and see what the numbers are at the end of this weekend. But as you see, has not opened in a lot of foreign markets yet, and so that very well could easily change by the end of this weekend. And if it has a massive release in these various countries, then obviously those numbers will be updating, but we'll keep you all posted on that as things happen. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that we are going to see some major numbers coming from films like Venom 2, or even more so with No Time to Die coming out this weekend? Do you think it's going to be able to match the $84 million or exceed it in the domestic marketplace? And do you think it has a chance of breaking even? Let me know that in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button. It really does mean a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Huge shout out to Kara Tharp, who is a new supporter over on Locals. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my Patreon, Subscribe Star, and Locals members. Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator, Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle, 79, Laura, the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Dion, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Alden, Stan Andrian, Teresa Martin, Theodore Benden, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. Thank you for being my Patreon members, and a huge shout out to my Subscribe Star members, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heist Slash, the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Subscribestar. And to my one Locals member, Robert Barnes, thank you for supporting me over on Locals. And if you want a name shouted out, or your name rather, shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video, please consider joining on one of those platforms, either Patreon, Subscribestar, or Locals. Links to that can be found in the description. Look at that top link especially. It's called the Willow link there. It'll give you links to all the social media platforms and also ways to support the channel. If you want to be an Army of Asgard level or above member, you can get access to giveaways that I do every single month. I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. It is a lot of fun. Also, if you join at the Keeper of the Bifrost level, you get access to all of that. Plus, you get access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. We have a lot of fun. We do that once or twice a month. And if you join at the Chosen of Valhalla level, you get all of that. Plus, in your first month, you get a t-shirt of your choice and send anywhere in the world. And also, you get to be featured on the channel once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we get to hang out and have a good time. So anyway, if any of that sounds good, check out that link in the top of the video as I mentioned. You guys are amazing and beautiful people. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.